I mean, give me a left-wing Hillary policy, like a really left-wing Hillary policy.
I couldn't tell you, but that's
Exactly.
I'm not.
Exactly. And you're not going to find one because you don't have to be a fan of Hillary or Biden to also critique whoever's in power now. What's up, y'all? Today we're watching clips of when David Pakman went on the PBD podcast and completely shut them out. It got kind of pathetic at some points where PBD didn't even have any actual arguments, just, but you love Biden, right? If Trump's not good, that means Biden must be amazing. No, they're all terrible. So let's watch some clips of Pakman completely dismantling PBD to the point where I kind of feel bad for him. And we'll chop it up in between.
Opinion of the U.S. has dramatically improved since Biden replaced Trump. I think that matters. I'm not an isolationist, so I think it's important that other countries respect the office of the presidency. And under Trump, it was a joke, you know, literally laughed at the UN, goes to India, mispronounces 10 Indian names, and the crowd is just leaving. It was a humiliation everywhere he went. So I think that's it's like a soft thing that I think is really good.
So the fact that we're no longer feared is a good thing.
I don't know where you're getting that we are no longer feared.
So you think people fear Biden?
What I'm asking you is what data do you have that we are no longer feared?
Well, that's what data is not any data to give. I mean,
then how do you know it is?
Well, no, but during Biden is when Russia felt comfortable bullying Ukraine. During Biden is even if you look at Afghanistan on the way we left, people on the left were not happy by the way we left Afghanistan.
Which people?
Even 82 billion. I can give you a lot of different names.
Like who?
CIA. Who was the CIA guy that we had here who was on
Philip Mudd
with a Z? What's his name?
Matt Zeller.
Matt Zeller, CIA agent who was on MSNBC. He called him out. He was on MSNBC with.
Hilarious. He said even people from the left, and then mentioned the CIA agent. Come on. You're not even trying. We just started here.
But that's one person, right?
No, but there's a lot of them though. If I actually pull it up and if I do the Google search on it, I'll find plenty of names from their own side.
Let's do it. That's fine. But I think one important thing to back up is you first kind of gave me what's not really a very fair question. You go, are you not worried that the U.S. is no longer feared?
So you're saying they don't fear you?
But hold on. Let me finish my response. Okay. Yeah. You first presented to me, and these are a lot of conversations go like this. You present to me, is it not a concern to me that the U.S. is no longer feared? And I said, well, where are you getting that? Where's the data? You go, there is no data. So let's first start with.
No, what I said is it's not the fear. I didn't say there's no data. You can't pull data. No data. Meaning you can't find data on fear.
Then how do you know that's
fear
the case?
is action? Fear is action. Did during Trump Russia attack Ukraine?
No, that's not. Yeah.
What happened with Palestine and Israel?
What happened?
What happened? They came together after 20-some years.
What?
What are you talking about when you say what?
What are you talking about?
He said Palestine and Israel came together? What is he talking about? And you see what his actual role is right here. His job is just to throw mud at the wall, and then when he's pushed back against, he calls for backup. You can see in his eyes complete emptiness. He has to then call in for a tag team partner because he clearly has no idea what he's talking about.
Hold on.
Well, he moved the capital to Jerusalem, is what you're saying.
So let's talk about that.
I don't know if there's been peace in the Middle East or anything like that.
Has there been any progress on peace?
Very limited.
It wasn't the capital. Did moving the embassy?
The embassy,
hold
correct.
on a second. Let me ask the question. Did moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem get us closer to peace, or did it get us further away? Do either of you guys know? I don't know if you've studied this issue.
There's arguments on both ends, but it has not led to peace and prosperity in Palestine, correct?
Did Trump promise, there's a very critical, clear question. Did Trump promise that Jared Kushner would solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during the first term?
That's
just
overreach.
a yes, no. Did he promise it?
I don't know if he promised it or promises made, promises kept. He was assigned to that duty.
And did it happen?
Did what happen?
Did Jared negotiate
No,
peace?
but I don't think anybody believed that peace was happening in the Middle East.
So it's okay for him to make promises that are obvious lies?
But make the argument. Go back to the argument about the fact that America on all polls today is, would you say, liked? What was the word you used?
So I think the really important thing when we talk about this is we talk about what we can measure. So the Gallup polling that has been done.
So you trust polls?
Oh, come on.
But that's where we're going, though.
There are
It's always, well, I don't know if it was a promise. And if it was a promise, so what? He tried. And if he didn't try, so what? It's still our team. See, it doesn't really matter what was promised and what was actually done. You could even tell the way he's answering that he knows the truth, but he knows that he has to play a line. Being partisan is a purposeful blind. Because you're playing for a team, you can't just honestly say that was a stupid plan to begin with and it didn't even work out. You have to constantly play this debate game hoping that David Pakman moves from his square. But David is such a good debater that he can ask simple questions, just yes or no. And then when you start answering other questions or adding on to the answers without answering yes or no, it becomes very clear what you actually mean and what you're trying to do.
there are lots of
Because I
different.
trust certain polls too, but I'm saying, so you trust polls.
If you say, do I trust a Rasmussen Republican primary poll 18 months before an election, I would say that's not very valuable. I don't think that's valuable. The Gallup public opinion sentiment poll that has been done over many, many presidents in the same way, I think that that's a pretty good poll just to give a sense of how the world feels about the American president. I have no reason to distrust that. There are other polls where I would have a specific reason to distrust. But we're kind of going like 10 tangents here. I think if we want to talk about, am I upset that the U.S. isn't feared? Since you brought that question forward, the appropriate thing would be for you to give me the data.
But no, go back to what you said. You said U.S. is what? You said you like the fact that U.S. is liked more today under Biden?
No, I didn't use that term.
What was the term you used, if you don't mind saying it
Globally,
again?
on average,
Yeah.
countries respect the U.S. more now that Biden is president
And
Trump
you
is
value that.
I think it's important because
Okay.
can I tell you why?
Sure.
I think it's important because between trade and globalization and problems we deal with that don't respect the borders of countries, it's important to be, again, it's not about liked, it's not about, it's to be respected globally. I do think that actually matters.
So why do you think they didn't like or respect Trump?
And as PBD hears that his co-host is drowning in these questions, he knows that it's his turn to change the subject.
Let's see what you're going to say with that. Why do you think? Tell me.
The guy's a joke.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why. And Biden's not a joke. in
Well,
your
we
eyes.
can talk about Biden.
Oh, because Biden's like the GOAT and,
No.
and Trump's the joke.
Because Biden is like the GOAT and Trump is a joke. How is that a real argument from a grown man? You could not like one candidate without loving the other. Is that the only choice? Is it only love and hate? And why can't hating both choices be the option? The problem with Pakman is that he don't trust the vibes or random Twitter accounts. Polls, that's just like gathers information. Why would you believe that instead of people who tweet at me? And really, David Pakman has the best answer right there. There's no other response besides, come on. But he does actually try to give more context into those numbers. He's mixing like and respect because to him, respect only comes from fear. So if there's no attempt at putting fear in the eyes of our allies, how could we ever get respect from our allies or our enemies? That's where that thinking comes from. And when Pakman gives his opinion as to why he thinks other countries don't respect Trump or the US, instead of arguing that point, PBD will say, because Biden is the GOAT, because you love Biden so much, because Biden is the best ever, clearly not even addressing what he's saying.
Joke.
No.
Okay, so
I'm critical
tell us
about,
why he's a joke.
But I think it's important to say, are we talking about Trump or are we talking about Biden? We can talk about both,
identify
but let's
both.
talk about them one at a time.
Stay on Trump.
Okay,
Stay on Trump
fair.
when he says he's a joke. Tell us
Okay.
why you think he's a joke.
Promises made that were not kept that he told us he was going to achieve for us. Let's look at some of them. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with, his word, a beautiful replacement where everyone will have care and it's going to be affordable. Okay. Just flat out didn't happen. The one proposal that Republicans made would have led to 24 to 32 million people losing health care. I consider that a failure. I don't think Obamacare is perfect, but it's better than the thing Trump said he was going to bring us. That was just a failure.
And that's only because the policy that Trump was talking about when he was running for office, healthcare for everybody that's paid for by our tax money. That's Medicare for all. Every time you get paid, check your pay stub. You're paying for Medicare. So everyone should have Medicare. While running for president in 2016, Trump used to be for Medicare for all, except he couldn't call it that because that's too far left. That's socialism, that's communism, whatever. All the scary boogeyman terms. And then like Pakman just said, when he won, his policy that he presented would be way worse than the Affordable Care Act. which isn't good. So while running for office, his healthcare plan is as left-wing as Bernie Sanders. But once in power, that was clearly not the case. And it might not even been up to him. But once you hire lobbyists who work for the health insurance companies to write your healthcare plan, it's only going to benefit them, which is what happened with the Affordable Care Act.
2, build a wall across the entire U.S.-Mexico border, which Mexico is going to pay for. It's not even worth having a conversation. I mean, just a joke. Of course, completely didn't happen. Solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No progress made. In fact, to be honest, and this is, if we want to delve into that, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem got us further from that because it's seen as a sort of a taunting measure if you understand the internal politics of what's going on there. Was going to, made some space travel promises. I mean, I can't think of promises he made that he did keep other than
cutting taxes for the richest of people. That's the only thing he ran on that he actually got passed, because that's the only thing his donors cared about. Everything else was just him talking at campaign rallies. Who cares? All Goldman Sachs cares about is tax cuts for the richest people in the world.
I guess he was going to do tax reform, and he did tax reform. So as a policy matter, a complete and total failure. I do think maybe the First Step Act on criminal justice reform did some good things. I'm sort of glad to give him credit on that. But so, on policy, failure. And then, on rhetoric, we could spend 3 hours just looking at quotes.
So I'm curious to see exactly how you think now. So
Yeah.
If COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because his followers don't care about policy. I interview them all the time, and I say
His followers don't care about policy.
they don't care about achievements. They care about Hillary bad, Hillary Marxist, Hillary socialist.
You think Hillary's good?
Did I say that?
Basically, his followers only care about sticking it to the ops, whoever the ops may be. It's the unifying principle. I know somebody who went from supporting Bernie Sanders to being a Trump supporter. And because we're friends, we can have a real discussion. And it was basically just, Hillary is so terrible that I will vote and support whoever she's against. It's very logical. Obviously, eventually it became kind of cultish, where people who supported Trump were almost X'd out of society, which brings people together, but not for anything specific. Besides, fuck the ops, which makes sense. It's not really about doing anything or getting anything done for real. It's just about owning the left, or the perceived left. Because Hillary Clinton is not anything left. Even if she didn't have a right arm, she would still not be a lefty.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, no, I don't think Hillary was a good candidate, and she's to my right. No, I don't think Hillary's good, but I thought she was better than Trump.
She's to your right.
She's to my right. Yeah, Hillary
So
is
she'd
a
be
very
a moderate conservative Democrat.
Yeah,
in your world.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, give me a left-wing Hillary policy, like a really left-wing Hillary policy.
I couldn't tell you, but that's
Exactly.
I'm not.
Exactly, because it doesn't really matter. It's just that she's bad. It's true, she is bad. But if you get specific, it's because she's corrupt, she's pro-war, she's pro-big corporations. But if you're a Republican, you can't be mad at a candidate for those specific things because you also support that. Most Republicans don't like Hillary Clinton because she's on the other team, not because she's done anything that they disagree with.
But it's not the point. But you're saying you would much rather have a Hillary than a Trump.
I would rather.
Okay, so go back to
Much rather, I don't know.
So go back to he gets reelected. Why? Because his voters could care less about policies.
They
That's what you're
couldn't
saying.
care less.
Fine, no problem. So, but we both know that it's not the right that elects him, and it's not the left that elects whoever on the left. It's whoever's in the middle,
Not true.
the 8 to 12% that kind of says, you know what, I'm going to go this side, this time around, or versus more people come out for their candidate, meaning a lot
Not
of people
really
would
true.
come out for Obama. Okay, so explain yourself.
What it actually more depends on is who chooses to go out and vote. It's less about, there's often this idea in politics, and there's lots of people who are really good on this issue that you could talk to, Rachel Bidikofer, and even Frank Luntz, even though he's partisan, I think he would concede this as well. He's
The
on
pollster,
right.
you mean,
Yes.
Frank Luntz, yeah.
The idea of the swing independent voter that sometimes on presidential elections will vote for a Republican and sometimes a Democrat, very, very, very small percentage of people. More common is that a candidate either activates people to vote or those same people just stay home. In the US, we have an embarrassingly low voter turnout. It's between usually 52 and 60%, I think. So almost half the electorate isn't even voting. It's less about people who vote one way and then another way. It's more about people who say, I'm just going to stay home versus I'm going to go out and vote. If they vote, it's clear.
So you're saying that the middle voter doesn't matter at all?
No, I didn't say that.
So what are you saying then?
I said they matter much less than who is partisan chooses to vote.
But it's fair to say that, okay, if he continues, and there's no COVID, he would get reelected. Do you think let's specifically target the middle? Forget the people on the side that would show up. Okay?
Well, but why? That's
the question I want to do with you right now. So if we specifically focus on the middle, the independent, the libertarians, would they have chosen to stick with Trump, or would most have wanted to replace him with somebody else?
It's a polling question. I don't have the data.
Well, you're the poll guy, so I'm asking you.
I don't have the data in front of me.
Okay, I'd be curious to know. So but you're also correcting me to say that's not true. That's the middle and the independents that didn't elect him. You're saying it's who showed up that elected him.
As a general concept,
right.
Elections swing less based on independents who sometimes vote Republican and Democrat. That's a small factor. A bigger factor is, are voters activated by their candidate, or are they deactivated where they go, I don't like this person, but I'm definitely not voting for that one. I'll stay home.
So isn't it a bit of both, though?
It's a bit of both.
Because we all saw what happened in the Rust Belt. We've seen countless stories about, I voted for Obama. I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. What are you talking about? I voted for Bush, then I voted for Obama, and then Trump showed up. He made some promises. He was in the Midwest. He was out there. He was reaching out, touching hands. Hillary was too busy in New Mexico and Arizona. I decided to vote for Trump. I was sort of done with Trump. Now I'm back on Biden. We see so many stories like that, these independents.
That's an anecdote.
It's almost like they're not even listening to him. Pakman said both play a part, but one plays more of a part. Is that a crazy concept? I don't think so.
And so I think anecdotes are fine, but one of the things that is important is to zoom out from anecdotes and to look at the broader data. And the other thing that's important is a lot of that cross-voting, it cancels each other out because you see roughly the same amount from one side versus the other. And what I mean by that is there was, if you look at the crossover in 2016, the number of Democrats who decided to vote Trump in 2016 was very similar to the number of Democrats who decided to vote McCain in 2008. So it's a roughly predictable number.
You're talking about Democrats who have switched over. I'm talking about just there's legitimate independents.
I'm giving you just one example of this, people who go either way or whatever. It's relatively stable and predictable, so it's rarely a difference maker. That's my only point. And we can anecdotes all day. You know, Jim Bob's wife decided to vote Hillary or what. You know, that's totally fine.
But let's do data, because you're a data guy.
Yeah.
So if you're a data guy, tell us, when you're saying it's not necessarily that the middle would have had Trump.
Yeah.
Would he have needed the middle to get reelected in 2020?
He would have needed roughly the same percentage that Republicans tend to need. Trump suffered because on the COVID thing, would he have gotten reelected? It's not only if COVID didn't happen, Trump probably would have gotten reelected. I think if when COVID started, instead of Trump saying, we have 15 cases, soon going to be 0, do flu vaccines work on COVID? What about bleach injections? All that stuff. If instead of that, Trump said, hey, you know what? We're the United States. We're going to deal with this better than anybody else. We're making MAGA masks. And by the way, 50 cents on every dollar will go, you know, his normal fundraising scams, right? Do the scams, but do the MAGA masks. And if he said, we're going to be absolutely the best on this thing, he wins. We saw it in New Zealand. We saw it in other places. It was a missed opportunity. Now, I think it was just a miscalculation in the sense that somewhere Trump probably thought it was really going to go away. I don't know who was around him. I don't know by Easter of 2020, right? I mean, okay. So I think Trump, even if he had just done that, and because we saw,
why though? Why would he have? Why would the independents, the ones in the middle, who are?
I don't think Patrick Bet-David knows what the middle actually means. Trump was actually handed a layup with COVID. If he would have just handled that like an adult and not trying to brush it under the rug, he could have easily won. And he kind of did at first in regards to putting attention towards making a vaccine. But then he saw that it would be better as a partisan issue. He saw it as the easy issue to distract people and put them against each other. So Patrick Bet-David showed in this interview, no matter how much money you have, you can still be an idiot. As we saw how they try to go through this interview using debate tactics and whataboutism, it's clear that Patrick Bet-David wasn't trying to get information or defend his own ideas. It's just throwing stuff at the wall, and when that doesn't work, change the subject. And when that doesn't work, say, but you love Biden, right? But you love Hillary, right? That type of playing for one team and supporting one team only because you like the guy who's coaching at the time is stupid. This is not sports. You shouldn't be loving politicians unconditionally. These people aren't your parents. But if you like what I'm doing here in regards to covering these topics and being like a moderator for these debates, hit the like, subscribe to the channel, give your thoughts in the comments. Peace.